various aspects of the sound produced by musicians performing with them in concert. Aspects of sound to be affected are to include timbre, texture, volume, perceived direction and duration. The goal was to use medical research equipment and digital sound creation technology to create a super connected, super expressive artistic environment for both performers and participants. During the research week, performances of the dance from musicians were always improvised, while they explored the possibilities afforded and restrictions imposed by the technology.
This is a very exciting project for me, and the reason for that is that we've been using our type of technology and equipment for a number of years, but they've been mostly concentrating on world-class athletes to measure human performance. We've been using them on astronauts to see how they operate in space, and we've been using them for other more fundamental research on human movement. But never before have we looked at remote measurement of human movement in connection with dance, art and the theatre. And as far as I know, this is the first time that there's been a direct relationship between the science, arts and the technologies in this particular manner.
Dr Ellis and his assistant Bladger are attaching a number of diverse sensors to dancer Caroline Lofthouse.
So there's some
This belt is fitted with a transmitter.
What we have here are a number of transducers attached to the dancer. In this particular case here, we have an electrogoniometer which measures the range of movement of the elbow. So it gives a continuous output from 0 volts to 5 volts. So in this position, we have 5 volts output, and in full extension, we have 0 volts output. This information is transmitted via this radio transmitter to a receiver, along with other information from other transducers. So if we now just move round, we have another type of transducer here, and here we are measuring muscle activity. This is an EMG preamplifier, and it measures the electrical activity of the muscles through these 2 electrodes, amplifies it, and again sends it to the radio transmitter to be transmitted to the receiver. If we go around to the front now, she also has a number of switches attached to her body, so that when she touches them and presses them, it sends off an on-off signal which can control something like volume. So now we have the transducers on the dancer, and you can see from on the screen the real-time display. So as she moves her elbow, you can see here the lines moving up and down. So if you just want to move them a little bit more, you can see that. The next line indicates the switches, so you can see as she presses the switches on and off, you can see that this movement here. And finally, if she does a squat with the muscles, you can see the muscle activity occurring on this third line here. And on this line we also have another muscle activity on that one as well. So we can see that the real-time data is being transmitted from the information on the transducers by radio transmitter to the receiver and displayed here on the computer, and it's also then controlling the other computers and the software which is controlling the sound.
Well, there's a whole sequence of samples from 1 to 128, and across that whole range you start off with, we've got the sound of whales, and that moves into the sounds of cellos, and that moves into birds at the other end, and by the movement of the dancer's arm, then these are selected in that way.
This is a little bit restrictive, obviously because it's a bit cumbersome, but the others you can't really feel, so that's fine. But I felt more restricted in the movements that I could do, because you have to keep it really slow and controlled, because obviously I'm controlling the different sounds. So if I went really quickly and I did lots of movement, then the sound would become distorted and it wouldn't make any sense sort of musically. So I had to really control that to keep it all together.
I'm triggering the sounds here, the sampler's playing the sounds, and if I find, there we go, a sound I can demonstrate the sort of timbral changes. As I scroll through the programs, you can hear the tonal changes. This affects the music and the way I would perform. Control voltage analog information received from the telemetry system is converted by an interface into MIDI controller messages. These are used to affect the sounds played by the musicians. The musician's performance is directly affected by the dancer. Their expressive mediums are directly linked, interdependent and superconnected. For me, the interesting and exciting thing is that it pulls out all sorts of questions regarding performance and reaction to the way we hear, the way we interact with the music, whether you're a musician, a performer, a dancer, or a listener.
It's a real sort of interplay because I'm sort of responding to the sounds that I'm making, but I'm also trying to respond movement-wise to the sound that's been created. So I'm trying to respond to that musically, and yeah, there's a definite sort of connection between myself and the musicians.
Possibilities for exploration from the whole sonic interaction with the dancers. Obviously we need a lot more time to explore it fully. There's a large number of elements that could be incorporated as well, from the idea of lighting. The movement of the dancers could be translated in various ways through lighting. It's enormous, really. I mean, the scope is practically infinite. I can see thousands of possibilities at this stage, which needed fully exploring.
Felt like it could progress even more, because I just feel like I've got to a stage where I'm just starting to get used to it now, and now the week's over, it feels like I do definitely a couple more weeks to sort of really get to know the equipment properly and really explore sort of movement possibilities and obviously like musical possibilities as well.